All right, so Chevelle, tonight we are going to start the story writing topic. And for this lesson, you should be, after this lesson, you should be able to tell me what the elements of a short story is. You need to be able to tell me what a short story is. And you should be able to talk extensively about some key elements. And hopefully by the end of the class, you should be all geared up to write a story. All right? So we're gonna start. I'm gonna play a video for you and you will watch it. And then we'll have a discussion of it afterwards, all right?
Okay.
So, okay, so I'm gonna play now. Okay, so Chevelle.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so you watched the video, right?
Yes.
Okay, did you like it?
It was interesting.
All right, it was interesting. What was interesting about it?
Well, it had a bit of drama in it.
All right, you had a drama. All right.
Yeah.
Since we're doing story writing, would you consider what you saw just now to be a story?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it had characters in it.
Okay, there were characters. Jotting down what you're saying, you know, so you had characters, and a story must have characters.
Yes. It had a storyline.
All right, there's a storyline. Anything else?
It was easy to read. The person's actions.
Or easy to follow?
Yes.
Okay.
Stella, good night.
Who's that? Who is saying tell her good night? Okay. Chevelle, so far you're telling me that you would consider it a story because it had characters. It had a storyline, it was easy to follow. Anything else?
No.
All right, fine. I'm going to pick your brain some more. If you're telling me that you consider it a story, why would you say that it's a story? Probably you've never thought about what a story is before. You can think about it now and tell me anything that comes to your mind.
For me, a story is basically describing or talking about something but using words.
Okay. So I could also say that the story is an account of things. So
Yes.
it's an account of events that happen.
Yes.
All right. Anything else?
It can also be imaginary events.
All right. So you're saying that a story can be imaginary, as well as it could be based on facts, on real things, real life experiences.
Yes.
All right. Fine. Anything else?
It could be based on themes.
Based on a theme. All right. Based
Yes.
on a theme. Fine. Okay, Chevelle, you're on the right track, man. So tonight we're gonna look at a definition for story now, and then you can line up what you just said, what you just told me, with the definition that I will share. All right, so that's one. But that's a story of that's the definition of the general concept of story. That it's a telling of fictional or made up events. All right. And of course,
Yes.
a story is basically a series of events. One thing happens, that thing leads to another thing, then something else happens after that, and that series continue until there is a reasonable resolution. So that's a story. And since we're doing the short story, and of course it's short because it has a limited number of words, and for CSEC English, your word limit is actually 400 to 450 words. So that's a really short story. And a short story is a brief work of fiction that focuses on a single experience. It's a single experience because unlike a novel or unlike a longer story that will probably feature many more characters and many more experiences where you can have a main plot and a subplot and another plot under that. This short story actually focuses on one single experience and it will not feature a lot of characters. Usually, if you use a lot of characters in a short story, it becomes very underdeveloped and confusing. All right, so that's a short story. And then we're going to look at the elements. Now, you started by giving me a few. You gave me two elements. You gave me characters, and you told me that a story must have a storyline. So those are two elements, and those are two of the lot that we will look at tonight. Of course, we know who characters are, right?
Yes.
Who are the characters?
About.
Who are characters?
The, the, the characters are the people being talked about.
Yes, the characters are the people in the story, all right? And of course, every story must have characters. All right, so first of all, your story must have a title. That's the first thing, first element, must have a title. And it must have a plot. And the plot here is the same thing that you call the storyline. Must have characters. The story must have a setting. It must be written from a particular point of view or narrative perspective. And you said this earlier as well. The story will have a theme. All right. So we're going to look at each of these individually. And we're going to start by talking about plots. What is plot? It's the same thing that you call the storyline. What is it really?
You start off by introducing the story, then the story has to keep on the attract the reader. They must
Shelly, good night. Mute your mic, please. Thank you. Yes, Chevelle, go ahead.
So it must have I would say, and
It
then
must have, I didn't hear that. It must have.
It must reach at the point that it has a little drama or little conflict.
Yes.
So it leads a falling point to go to a resolution so you can end the story.
Okay. All right, very good. So basically, the plot of a story is the series of events. So if you notice, I have a little man down here. I need to, let me see here. Okay. Trying to find a spotlight that I can use. All right. So as you can see, I have a little man down here. All right. So he looks into his mailbox. He gets a letter, and so each one thing leads to the other. So what we have in plot is a series of events, each connecting to each other, right? So the plot is the series of events, or what you call the chain of events. And what you have here is the plot diagram. Right? That's what you were discussing a while ago, the plot diagram. I'm trying to, okay, good. All right, so there you have, and guys, let me know if you're making notes from the slides. You should be. So let me know when I can move on. Let me know when you're through writing so I can go to another slide. All right, so plot is the series of events or the chain of events in a story, or it's the arrangement of the events in a story. All right, so on the diagram, we have several points. We have exposition, we have rising action, we have climax, we have falling action, and we have resolution. Let us not look at conflict just yet. So, what happens at exposition? Does anybody know? What happens at that stage of the plot?
The introduction to the character.
Oh, wonderful, yes. It's the introduction to the character and?
The theme.
Not necessarily, you might not get the theme there, but you get something else. You get the introduction to the character and the setting, all right? So you're introduced to the people and you're introduced to where this story is taking place. So introduction to characters and setting there. Talk to me about rising action now, Chevelle. You were walking me through it a while ago.
Can you repeat the question, miss?
Walk me through rising action again. You did it a little bit earlier.
Okay, so
right here, we're right here.
Rising action, you start to getting into the setting and getting more in depth in the story that you're trying to tell.
And guess what happens? Conflict is developed here. This is where the conflict is developed. So several events will happen that will contribute to a conflict, and the conflict will build up and build up until it gets to the climax. Now, the climax is the highest point of intensity of the story, and for your story to be exciting, it must have a climax. So it must have this very interesting point. That point that has your heart your heart beating very fast, or not necessarily, but you know what I mean. You should have some excitement in your story. And of course, after you get to the climax, we have falling action, and falling action would be everything, all the things that would happen that will actually lead to a resolution. So that's the plot diagram. And then we're going to move on, and we're going to look at conflict. Now, an important point to note is that if you do not have a conflict, you don't have a story. Your story must have a conflict. So let's look at conflicts. What is conflict? It is a struggle between two forces in a story. And like I said earlier, if you do not have a conflict, there is no plot, hence you have no story. And what you will obviously end up with is something that sounds like a report. All right? So bear that in mind for when you start writing your stories. Your story must have a conflict. We're going to look at types of conflicts. Oh, okay. This basically explains what I said earlier about plot. Is everybody seeing that? Everybody seeing that slide?
Yes, miss.
Yes, miss.
Wonderful. And remember, if you're making notes, let me know. So it just sums up what I said earlier. So at the exposition, that is the beginning of the story, of course. That's where you're introduced to the character and the setting before things start getting exciting, before the action starts taking place. And then for rising action, those are all the events that will build up to that climax. So your conflict is developed right there. Then you have the climax, which is the highest point of intensity. Then you have the falling action, and the conclusion to the story is the resolution. All right? So we mentioned conflict a little while back. This slide should actually be before the conflict slide. So we're going to look at types of conflict. Does anybody know what the types of conflicts are? These are the types. Can anybody explain what character versus character would mean? What that kind of conflict would mean? Anybody, and I can't call people's names. Shelly dropped off. I don't know. I'm seeing iPhone here. I don't know who's using the iPhone. So I can't call on that person by name. So Cheryl, apparently it's just you and me.
This is the character.
It's only character versus character.
Would it be two characters of which the person is talking about having a conflict?
I couldn't hear you. It's actually breaking up a little bit.
Is it the two characters that the person is talking about having a conflict?
Okay. Basically, it is conflict between two persons, really. That is it. And I guess too that for many of the stories that we read, this is the type of conflict that we're used to. We're used to characters having some kind of problem with each other. All right. So we're going to look at each of these. The first one we look at is character versus character. All right. So this type of conflict finds the main character in conflict with another character, another human being, or non-human. All right, that's clear?
Yes, yes.
Very clear, all right. Then we have character versus self. And basically for this type of conflict, a character is having some kind of challenge with himself or herself. Can you give me an example of what kind of situation that would fall in, Chevelle? Where a character is having a conflict with himself or herself?
Versus mine.
Yes, of course. Can you be specific? Like, you could give me an example.
Good night, Miss.
Hi, Trudy.
Probably the first one to go somewhere, but go there, and it's about the consequences of going and just decide if they should go or should not go.
All right, good. So you understand. So that's character versus self. And then we have character versus society. And this is the type of conflict that a character might have with a group. And this group might be a community, the society in general, or culture. Then we have character versus nature. And of course, this is the type of conflict that we have, a character having with some element or some force of nature. I'm trying to remember the name of the movie, but I can't. But there was this movie with a family, and they went to I'm trying to remember if it's an Asian country. Anyway, a tsunami came, and the family was split. So everybody was separate. I don't remember does anybody know the movie? Anybody? The point I'm trying to make with the example though is that that storyline would be an example of man versus nature, where nature, that tsunami, that storm that would have split up the family, that would have caused injuries and so on to people, that tsunami would have been the antagonist. Meaning the antagonist, you know what the antagonist, who the antagonist in the story is? The antagonist is that person, or in this case, we're talking about character versus nature. The person or the element that would create problems for the main character in the story. And the main character would be, or the good person or the main character would be the protagonist, and the antagonist is the bad person, basically. Okay?
Yes, miss.
Chevelle, there's Trudy now, and there's Shelly now. The person who is using the iPhone has dropped off. I don't know who that person was. So now it's not just Chevelle. So Trudy and Shelly, when I call in you to respond, make sure you do. All right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it for conflict. And then now Chevelle, we talked about characters earlier. And of course, you told me that the characters are the people in the story. Forgive me, guys. This little boy has come for pistachio. So, Dante, say good evening and help me teach the class. Say, not bad. Say good evening. Here. Alrighty. So characters are the people in the story. So before you start writing your story, you have to decide who your characters are. You'd have to decide what sort of characters they are. You must make them believable, because you don't want to write characters or create characters that when people read your stories they'll be saying, no man, this person could never exist, because nobody would behave like that. It's not possible that a man could behave like that or so forth. So your characters must be believable. All right? Feel free to stop me, guys, if you must. No response. All right. Ashane, good evening. I'm going to pick on you. Ashane?
Yes, miss.
I'm going to pick on you. We're looking at point of view, or what we call narrative perspective. Basically, you have information in front of you. You know that point of view, perspective from which the story is told. And you are now told that you can write from either the first person or the third person point of view. Are you able to differentiate or distinguish between the two?
I can't hear you.
Is my background too noisy?
Yes, miss.
Okay, I need to. Dandre is watching some. All right, let me turn it down. Give me a second.
Students, Shellyan and Chevelle, you guys mute your mics until they're ready to speak. Thank you.
Airplane needs Ashane, I'm back and I'm ready to hear your response.
What did you say?
I'm back and I'm ready. Oh, you didn't? Oh, I'm sorry. You had said that you didn't hear what I said. I said that in front of you is information on point of view. All right. So you are told that point of view is a perspective from which a story is told, and that you can either write from your first person perspective or from the third person. And I asked you if you could distinguish between the two. Can you?
No.
Can anybody? Can you do it, Trudy?
Miss, could you please repeat the question for me, please?
Can you distinguish between first person and third person point of view?
No.
No?
No, miss.
Can you, Chevelle? Okay, Chevelle, go ahead.
The first
Yay,
person
Cheryl,
is
I saw you raising your hand. That was really cool.
someone telling you his or her story. And
Go
the
again.
third person,
Go again.
the
The
first
first
person,
person is.
someone telling his or her story.
Mm-hmm.
God.
And the person is that you are watching the event. So you're talking from your point of view of watching the event.
All right, very
That's it.
good. Very good. Now there are some pronouns that could help you to determine what point of view the story is coming from. So for first person, what is the pronoun that would give you some idea that this is first person point of view?
Hi.
Yes, I, we, our, good. And third person, what are the pronouns that would indicate that that is third person?
She and they.
Wonderful, Ashani. So you knew it. All right, so that's that for point of view. So here are your notes. So the first person point of view is where the narrator is the main character, and of course the main character is telling his or her story. So that person is central. That person, the story actually surrounds that person. And for the third person, that person is an outsider looking on and telling the story as they see it from their perspective. All right?
Yes, miss.
Is that clear for everybody?
Yes, miss.
Okay, good. All right, so I have 10 minutes before the class ends, meaning this portion of it, and after the 10 minutes, of course, you re-log in. All right, this is what I'm going to do. Let me see what comes after this. Okay, this is the next thing. So the setting of the story is where and is a time and place, of course. So where and when the story takes place. So setting is the time and the place that your story takes place. Right? Of course, your time could be in the past, in the future. So your story could be futuristic. The story could have taken place in the past, in the present, and of course, that's time. And place could be anywhere. Also, remember, time could be historical time. Time also could be day or night, that sort of thing. All right? So that's setting. All right? So your story could be taking place on the beach, could be snowing, could be in the forest, could be in the present, the past, the future. All right, so that's that. Now, this is what I'm going to do before we go any further. That video shovel that I played for you, initially, I'm going to play it again. And since we are now aware of what the elements are, this is what I want you to do. I'm going to play the video, and you are going to identify all the elements there. So you need to identify the characters. So you need to be doing some jotting in your notebooks. You'll be identifying the characters. You'll be identifying the setting. You need to tell me what the conflict is. So you need to give me a brief outline of the plot. What else? So I told you characters, setting, conflict, the plot. Yes, you can tell me about point of view as well. From what point of view is the story told or being told? What other element? What other elements am I leaving out? You can't even tell me what the theme of the story is, all right? So I'm going to play, you watch it, and you're going to identify all the elements that we just looked at, all right? All right, guys, go ahead. Oh, you did it already.
No, me.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Yes? You want a couple minutes to finish? Would you like me to play it again?
Okay, play it again.
No, miss, no. I can ask a question.
Quick. Oh, Ashane. Trudy.
Yes.
So Ashane is done.
No, go ahead and ask.
Ashane is done. Trudy. Let me
Yeah,
take
go
a.
ahead.
Let me use the majority. Trudy.
Miss,
What you say?
I said go ahead and ask questions.
Okay. Chevelle, you're fine?
Yes, miss.
Okay, all right. Who should I start with? Let me start with Trudy.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
Miss Tiffany.
Yes, I'm going to ask you the very easiest one. Characters. Who are the characters in the story?
Miss, I see some musician. I see a dancer.
Don't tell me about the musicians if the musicians are really taking part in the story, you know. Tell me who the main characters are. Who were the people that were in the story? Who
The man will take out the weapon.
And I don't want to hear anything about no man will take up the weapon. Their names were called. I want to hear their names. So Ashane, come, tell me what the names are. You see, I ask you if you want me to play it again, you know.
No, but you couldn't see the names.
Of course, but if you couldn't see the name, they're in the song. The names are there. All right, listen to it again. The names are there.
No, I couldn't hear nothing. No, I couldn't hear nothing.
Okay, I'm gonna play it again. I need names, and when you tell me you need to be very specific. All right? Come on. So listen keenly.
You don't hear.
Question, hold on. Are you hearing the audio?
Yeah.
Are you hearing the audio? Are you hearing the song?
No, miss.
Well, they're not hearing. So, oh my goodness. So they're not hearing me tell you so the name was called. Oh